So the first fight I want to break down, or you want to break down, is the one which we thought could be the fight of the night: Vergil Ortiz Jr. versus Israil Madrimov. So I mean, I want to start it off by saying I think Madrimov done way too much moving without throwing many punches, and it looked like Ortiz was just following him around until he got tired. I mean, what was your initial take on the fight?
Yeah, well, styles make fights. Let's start off with that. Everybody thought that Crawford had a tough time with Madrimov, but there's a lot of factors that played out as to why that occurred. And it's not to make excuses for Bud. It's just that styles make fights. You know, he had to get adjusted to that style. Bud is not a stalker. Like, he doesn't follow you around cutting the ring off. He's more of a counter puncher. Like, he's normally a reactive fighter, you know, more than a proactive fighter. Well, he can kind of go both ways, but he normally capitalizes off your mistakes, where I felt like Vergil Ortiz is more of a proactive guy, where he does know how to cut the ring off. Not that Bud doesn't if he wanted to do that, but that's more Vergil Ortiz style. I keep getting ready to say Victor Ortiz, but Bernard Hopkins, who promotes Vergil Ortiz, did the same thing, because their names is eerie similar, both trained by Robert Garcia, you know, so the easy mistake to make. But anyway, Vergil Ortiz does a good job at making people move around. And although Madrimov, who has somewhat of an amateur style, no, not somewhat, he does have pretty much an amateur type style of boxing. You know, he's moving around a lot, you know, trying to outpoint you occasionally, but for the most part, it's tricky movement and awkward punches. But the problem with that is that if you're not returning fire while you're moving, like you said, you can tire yourself out and get walked down against a pressure fighter like Vergil Ortiz. Like, Vergil Ortiz, I thought, did the right thing. You know, he took things away for Madrimov to come forward, forcing them to go lateral and to go backwards. He beautifully worked behind a high guard. I saw somebody say that Vergil Ortiz should move his head more. Well, he catches shots with his gloves, kind of like what Beterbiev does. So these guys aren't exactly going to be head movement type of guys. Like, I think fans are so fixated on one type of defense, like slipping punches and bobbing and weaving and ducking at the waist. That's not all that defense implies. Like, there's many different facets to defense, and the high guard is one. Look, Winky Wright was a guy that didn't use a lot of head movement. He worked behind a high guard. Bazooka Ike Corte worked behind a high guard. Earl Spence Jr., who Vergil Ortiz reminds me of a whole lot, fights behind a high guard. So there's been a plethora of guys that fight behind a jab, and I mean, have the jab in here too. Like, it was a nagging jab that Vergil Ortiz was throwing in Madrimov's face, you know, getting his attention. I told you the timing of Ortiz was slow Madrimov down to picture perfect body shots. And I watched the Crawford fight. To go back to that, I watched Crawford slowing down with a body shot. One thing about these Eastern European guys, not all, and this is not a stereotype, but a great deal of them, they don't like getting touched to the body. I don't know what it is, but you notice that?
Yeah, I think in today's game, body punch is almost like it's not as it's almost become a lost art almost, because
it's a lost art.
It's a great body punch as compared to when we were growing up in the 80s and 90s. It was normal. So now, I think because the amateur style is more,
I'm sorry,
punches, and then they saw the body punch isn't as prevalent. So if you're a good body puncher, you can definitely annoy pretty much any fighter, any style of fighter, really.
So, like I always say, Vergil Ortiz, he doesn't throw wow punches. It's more like aha, like it's the basic of the basics, but it's effective. Like, these aren't exactly sports center highlight reels. You know, although he has some nice combinations that could be a highlight reel, but for the most part, it's basic boxing. You know, a 1-2, throwing a 7. You know, an occasion with a 7 elite hook to the body, but for the most part, he's working behind like a basic high guard 1-2, and then going downstairs from then on. And like I said, people always talk about, oh, this guy ran. Like you heard Teofimo talking about Jermaine Ortiz, saying how he ran. Learn how to cut the ring off. Look, Madrimov is not a difficult, easy guy to look good against. That style is difficult. We saw even with Crawford, it took him a while to get his footing against that style. But Vergil Ortiz stayed the course. He clogged the rushing lanes. Madrimov had nowhere to go, and he ran out of ideas, and he ran out of space ultimately. And Vergil Ortiz, like, basically walked him down all night and pieced him up, because it's difficult when you're fighting a guy that knows how to fight on a straight line and go to the body in the process. Look, we've seen guys get followed around and walk into punches, so it's just not that simple of just follow guys around. There is, you know, some mathematics that go to this. Like you have to be, you know, use some sort of geometry, because you're fighting on lines. You know, it all get broken down to lines. And Vergil Ortiz is really good at taking lines away from people. That's why I always said this kid will be a tough out for anybody, because he's not the most difficult guy to look good against, because he knows how to apply pressure, smart pressure, gradual smart pressure. And, you know, it's going to take a really special fighter to convincingly beat him. I know a lot of people thought he lost his last fight, but that was like his that was his first fight at 154, because the first fight at 154 was against a blown up welterweight. So in 2 fights, he had to fight, and I'm drawing a blank of the last Ethan Bubba, yeah. And then he fights Madrimov, who would give anybody problems on any night, and basically grew up, I thought, like 5 years in one fight. And Madrimov was tired. He was basically fighting off adrenaline, as the fight process.
By the end of the fight, yeah,
because the body shots, it took its toll, and it's hard when somebody constantly walking you down and applying smart pressure. You know, there's like, especially he's not a guy that clinches, you know, so he just using his footwork to buy time, and everybody got a gas tank that eventually empties out. So,
but
yeah, I wasn't shocked at all. To be honest.
But I mean, do you agree that Madrimov just didn't throw enough punches whilst he's moving around at the start? What is the point of all that movement if you're not going to throw many punches behind it? A little bit less movement, a little more punching is what I'm trying to get at.
But this is the thing, though, Faze. It's worked against other guys. That's what, like, again, the stop
against the top level guys, he just doesn't punch enough, does he?
No, true. I'm not denying that. Let's look at a guy like Sergio Martinez, right? That style works against certain fighters. When he fought Margarito, now we don't know what's to make of that now, because we don't know what Margarito had in his hands. But all that out the window, right? Margarito's style, pressure fighter, same kind of situation here, right? And Martinez basically got, now this was earlier in his career, so I guess some could say, well, he grown to become a better, but still the style was the style. He had that, he was a cyclist, right? Outside of boxing, he had like a cyclist career, if I'm not mistaken. Sergio Martinez. Okay. Yeah, so he an extremely athletic dude, another awkward guy that fights from all these weird and awkward angles. But again, when you got a guy that knows how to cut the ring off and kind of mitigate that particular style, like, it just don't look the same no more. I just don't think he's ever going to be a guy like Bivol. Like, Bivol is moving around, but he's returning fire in the process. I don't think he's ever going to fight like Dmitry Bivol. I think it's more so like he's more closer to Sergio Martinez than he is Dmitry Bivol.
So, more impressed with Ortiz or more disappointed in Madrimov then?
I'm impressed with Vergil Ortiz because a lot of people was doubting this kid because of the last fight that he had. And it just showed you that there's just certain levels in boxing. And again, just because a guy doesn't jump out to you on the screen doesn't mean he's at an elite level. Like, that kid is a very, very excellent pressure fighter that does a superb job at cutting the ring off. So, again, it's going to take a very, very special style. That's why a lot of people want to see him and Boots fight, because they think it's the ultimate clash of styles if that was to ever happen. But I'm more impressed with Vergil Ortiz than disappointed with Madrimov, because I think that, with all due respect to Madrimov, I don't think that nobody's ever going to put him at the elite level. I think Vergil Ortiz, his trajectory is to be in the Hall of Fame one day as an elite fighter. Like, I think we'll be talking about Ortiz in a year or two being a multi-division champion. Not that Madrimov can, because there's always vacant belts, and he's good enough to go get a title. But I think Ortiz is the story here, like going forward, not Madrimov.
Yeah, I think it's all, like I say, it's a good style match. I think I mean, Ortiz is American Mexican, isn't he?
Yes, he's Mexican American. Yes, from Texas, which is right next to the border of Mexico.
Yeah, but I think the best way to fight, perhaps the best way to fight the Eastern European style, is that sort of pressure that Mexican boxers bring.
What did Ward do against Cole? The Ward fight in Kovalov, when he fought Kovalov the second fight, and remember John David Jackson, the trainer of Kovalov, basically gave all the secret sauces out to the world. And I'll never forget when he was talking about Ward fighting him again, because at this time they had split. So he was like, man, if Ward goes to the body more, this fight is a walk in the park for him.
Interesting.
Now, this is easier said than done. This is Andre Ward, one of the best crowd pleasers. When I say crowd pleasers, he crowds guys in the actual ring. He got one of the best crowd fight games we've seen in quite some time. You know, you got to go back to like Bernard, the Nate Campbells of the world. Like, nobody crowds like Bernard. So he had the tools to do it. Vergil Ortiz isn't exactly crowding you. It's more so he's walking you down, systematically breaking you down by going to the body.
Yeah. I think that's the key. What you just said there, breaking them down. You know, you can their style affords them not to be broken down in the amateurs, but you keep doing that in a 10-12 round fight.
Yeah,
you can get.
It's
broken
so much
down.
different in the amateurs. The clock is different. The scoring system is different.
Yeah.
So you'll get points for stuff that you're not going to get at the pro ranks.
Definitely.
Like Amir Khan moved around a lot, but he threw punches in the process, and it cost him sometimes.
Yeah, I think with Amir Khan, he punched too fast for his feet.
Right.
So was position. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I think so. To your point about Madrimov, I think if he opens up more, he probably would have got knocked out in that fight.
The way he was going, yes, because when he got tired from just running around not doing much, and then when Ortiz got up to him, he was.
He probably gets stopped if he opens up.
Because he throws a lot of single shots or 1-2 shots, doesn't really put punches in bunches together, which he probably needs to do. Yeah, if he did that, like I said, he would have been opened up and probably taken out.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so controversial fight next. Carlos Adams versus Hamza Sheeraz. So, was it really a draw in your opinion?
I thought Adams won the fight. Let me just open up right there and say that. I thought he won the fight.
What did you sort of score there for? How many rounds?
I had it 7-5. But
okay,
so that means it could have went either way. You know, that's why I was going. But go ahead, say what you was going to say, and I'll tell you why I think it could have went either way.
No. You carry on. I was just waiting for you.
Okay, so Carlos Adams, and I just thought the fight again. Sometimes guys fight not to lose rather than to win.
Yes, but do you think the broken hand had a lot to do with that?
What happened?
The broken hand, Sheeraz's broken hand.
Yeah, I mean,
apparently early on. I don't know how early or what round.
No, we don't know. Roy Jones always got this saying, like, you know, everybody's dealing with something. You know, he will, I forget what fight it was. And look, a broken hand is a broken hand, but he said we're all dealing with something. And he doesn't like to talk about injuries, you know, but he had won this particular fight, so he's like, I'm gonna talk about it. But like, and it's not to take nothing away, but I just think that, like I said, I thought both guys left a lot to be desired. Like there was a lot of fill out rounds. It's a clash. We talked about this leading up to the fight. It's a clash of two totally different styles. You know, so sometimes those fights can either make good fights or they can make fights like what we. Not that it wasn't a good fight. It just it was some tricky scoring that took place. But at the end of the day, I thought Adams did enough to win the fight. I thought he was the more busier fighter, cleaner fighter. Where Sheeraz, I thought, you know, rather it was a broken hand or whatever it may be, I just didn't think he let his hands go enough in certain spots, and he didn't do enough to grab some of those swing rounds for me.
Yeah, I think Sheeraz he's a very disciplined fighter, so he sticks to the game plan behind that that long
A little
1-2.
too much sometimes, though. Some too robotic.
Yes, exactly.
Sometimes.
That's what I was gonna say. Like
Yeah.
he treads the beaten path a little bit too much. Sometimes you need to veer off that beaten path, try a different route, take a few more risks. I think he could have attempted some more risk, open up a little more, because it was just picking him off with the jab. He was just picking him off with the jab. To his credit, that worked, but you need a bit more than that, don't you?
You gotta be more, yeah. And look, Sheeraz, like a lot of times, right? And you know this from actually, training guys and being inside of a ring. Sometimes it's easier said than done. Sometimes guys don't want to get. We talked about body shots earlier. Adams was the better inside fighter, so maybe he didn't want to open up to be countered, and find himself even more down on the scorecard to potentially getting hurt. So I think some guys just take, the scenic route home, or rather getting on the highway. Just I'm gonna keep it safe and fight this particular fight, and hopefully I can get it. Get what I got, and look, to his credit, it worked.
He sticks to what he knows best. He doesn't get flustered either. So if he does get hit, he's quickly back onto his game plan, back on track. But yeah, he calls himself an overachiever. Sometimes I think he shouldn't be thinking like that, because it makes him fall back on what he does best, just the jab, the 1-2, when he can push a little bit more. Because you're going to need to push a little more at the elite level, at the world class level, and do a bit more punching, a bit more, because he's capable of a lot more. His characteristics, his physical dimensions as well. I think he's capable of a lot more than he actually believes. I don't know what you say to that.
I agree. I just it's just a little too robotic for me. I don't like when guys fight too systematic. There was no creativity to his fight game. It was just very predictable. Look, I said he would fight long and tall, which is fine, but you still got to mix some things up in there, because there was rounds, like you said, he was just doing enough just to skate by. And I just started thinking about, what's my man name? The other Eastern. That's all we talk about is Eastern European fighters.
You don't like them, do you?
Yeah, that's all we talk about these days. What's the main guy? Who?
What do you mean from the light heavyweight division?
No, 160. I'm talking 160.
160. Who we got? 160.
Jabanik. The one that my guy from, I think he's from Russia. Jabanik.
Oh, Janibek.
Yeah. Janibek. I don't think either one of them could beat him.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not at the moment. Yeah. I mean, there were like rumors or whispers that this was a 1-fight or 1-2 fight too early for Sheeraz. What do you think there? Having seen that fight in hindsight now.
Yeah. No, he need about a fight or two before we go down that path. Now Adams, he should be ready for that. Rather if he lose or not, this is the type of fights he should be taking at this point.
So because he broke his hand, do you think they're going to have a rematch then?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're going to fight again.
What do both fighters change then in the rematch?
I think it's one of these fights again that's going to be the kind of the same. It's hard. It's so hard for these guys to change who they are. I think our fighters, a lot of these guys, when they get in trouble, they go back to what they know. Unless things are going their way. Now it goes twofold, because if things are going their way, you may see some new, creative, innovative things. But when things get stale, like it normally happen, like midway through these fights, these guys go back to who they are. And I just feel like both of these guys, I think they might give Adams the fight this time. They may get him the victory, because boxing has been kind of trending in that direction. You saw that with Oshaki, Foster, and I forget the Brazilian dude he fought, the one that Shakur beat. I'm drawing a blank, but they fought twice. It was a robbery the first fight where they should have gave Foster the fight. And Conseco,
Constantine, something like that.
Constantine. There you go. Constantine. Now they got the decision right in that rematch, where I thought Constantine actually did better in a rematch than he did in the first fight. But I just think in a situation like this, if they were to fight again, I think Carlos Adams probably get the victory. I think he would probably be the recipient of the win he probably should have got from the first fight.
So there was also some controversy about Turki Al-Sheikh telling Sheeraz's team that they were behind on points. What do you make of that?
I didn't hear about this. This is new. This is breaking news to me.
So he went to their corner and he said, like, yeah, hold up his fingers, 2 points. You're 2 points behind on the scorecard. And he said, like, make sure you relay it to Sheeraz and basically to get him going.
Who is Sheeraz signed to? Like, what's his promotional company? Is he with Matchroom?
He's with Frank Warren.
Okay, I know. I'm trying to connect some dots here. I know Carlos Adams. Who I thought he was with PBC. I don't know who he's with now.
I'm not sure Dam is with. Is he with Eddie Hearn then? Because was it mostly Matchroom? But Sheeraz is with Frank Warren. But Turki Sheikh was going to his corner and telling him 2 points behind, and make sure you relay that to Sheeraz. Sort of pushing through. I think this was around about the midway point. I believe. I'm not quite sure what round it was.
Is this one of these like internet rumors, or did we actually see it?
There's actually a video.
Okay. I don't remember seeing that. I mean, I watched it, but I don't remember.
It came out after the fight.
Oh, okay. That's what.
I saw an X. But yeah, he definitely done it. But what did you make of that then? I don't think it's a big deal, to be honest.
I don't think it's a big. I mean, again, like it's a complicated subject because Turki, he's not a promoter. He's the money guy. He's this big
ambassador.
Right. He's a liaison. Like he's just a third party that's bridging the gap. So mainly these European. Well, I can't even say that because that one card he put together, you had people from Top Rank, Vergil Ortiz is with Golden Boy. So there's promotional companies all around here. I know people are going to try to say that, because Sheeraz is Muslim, Turki Al-Sheikh is Muslim, it's in Saudi Arabia. So you get these conspiracy theories out there. So, whatever, man. Like,
yeah, but we also saw Turki Al-Sheikh tell Bivol after the first fight, you won that, let's get a rematch going.
Exactly. So to nullify that, that's why you can't go with that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, Madrimov lost his Muslim as well. I don't think it's just people, as you know, trying to just come up with their own conspiracy theories.
People there's people that don't like that. You know what's crazy about that though? Like, there's some people out here, I don't know what these guys want. Like, you complain that there's no fights, right? So you get fights. Not only do you get fights, you get pretty much 50-50, with the exception, we'll get into the other fights that we thought was 50-50 fights, but wasn't. But for the most part, the card lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
It's so hard to have, and we've seen this from other cards where they're all under this, and this is the danger of fighters being the A side on their own promotional team, and they're putting them with D-level fighters. You're not going to get this. So he has really no vested interest. He's like, look, I want all these fighters to fight each other so we can appease the fans, and that way they get good product. Versus having Pitbull Cruz fight some 80th ranked fighter that nobody never heard of, coming off a loss. I'm just, making an example. So this is to help prevent that type stuff.
Yeah. We saw Shakur Stevenson was fighting Josh Padley 3-4 days notice. I mean, I suppose not much really to say. Is there we kind of knew Shakur Stevenson was going to win whoever he fought. But anything in particular you took away from that fight apart from Josh Padley, doing, he done really well to go 9 rounds.
No, that's good. Listen. At the end of the day, there's no moral victories in boxing, but to say that you want 9 rounds with a potential Hall of Fame, not potential, he will be in the Hall of Fame one day when his career is concluded. A Hall of Fame, one of the best fighters in boxing. To say, and you and I know that's not how this works, but from an optics perspective, and for his sake, for his confidence, and whatever it is he's trying to do with his career, that's something good to throw on your resume. You went 9 rounds with Shakur, who's not known to be some knockout artists, but still, you took the fight on 3-day notice. I don't care that he's an electrician. I don't care if he worked at Wendy's, Popeyes, wherever he did for a living. He's still a professional prize fighter. I mean, he has registered hands. His hands are illegal weapons, you know, if he's not inside of a boxing ring. So he's still a professional. He did the best he could against a guy that can't really get any fights. Every time there's a fight to happen, for whatever reason, it gets canceled. So this was the guy that stepped up. Let's not forget, this was a villain because the guy he was supposed to fight, you know, allegedly got ill and the fight couldn't transpire. But I just think Shakur is always going to have problems because his style is just not appeasing to the masses. And it is what it is at this point. I don't know what else, you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, isn't it? Because he's such a precise puncher.
He's so good, and it's just I don't know how your the grading system work, like in your school systems, but like here in America, right? They used to do this thing where they call grading on a curve. So one of the ways they did it was if one person, let's say 3 people had like they do ABC like grading here in America, right? I don't know if they still do. I'm going back in some time here, but so let's just say 3, 4, let's say 5 people in the class average a B. So that means their score is in the 80s. So what the school district decided to do, rather than leaving the other kids behind, they would grade everybody the same on the same curve. So everybody in the class got 80s. No matter what you did, we all got the same grade. We was graded on a curve. So I feel like this happens in boxing. Whoever your contemporaries, whoever your peers may be, in this particular instance here, it's going to be Gervonta Davis. So because Shakur doesn't look the way Gervonta looks, there's no way he's on Gervonta level. There's no way he's going to beat him when they fight. You and I as boxing fans, and we're pretty much even kill, you know, fair, objective guys. But most people are fans of one thing. They can't look at things in a vacuum and kind of judge things at its own, you know, at its own entity. So they grade and judge everything at once. So what people are doing, and this is a dangerous way of observing anything, but especially boxing, is judging Shakur based on what like Gervonta's probably going to knock Lamont Roach out. I know we'll get into that in a second, but he's probably going to knock this kid Lamont Roach out. So you know what people are going to say? See, he can't beat him. But it's just crazy, bro, that Shakur is graded upon that way. But he's not. Look, I went through this with Pernell Whitaker. You know, people love him now, and you know this, right? I wish I could go in a time machine someday and go back and bring these old commentators and articles that I used to read and being angry, like how the way they would talk about Pernell, like he wasn't this, he wasn't that. And then once he got the opportunity, key word here, opportunity, because you got to have the opportunity to fight the elites. Shakur's not getting that opportunity at Pernell. Once Pernell got the opportunity, his fight game went to a whole nother level. You saw with Vergil Ortiz, right? He fights Madrimov. You don't think Vergil Ortiz knew that Crawford, you know, had his struggles with Madrimov? You don't think that made that kid step it up another level? Same way, bro.
Yeah, it's a shame because we always look at Shakur Stevenson as this young boxer still waiting to fulfill his potential, but he's very quickly got into his mid to late 20s now.
He's 27.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah,
he's 27. Gervonta's 30.
Yeah. Wow, John Jones is 30 now.
Look, this is the fight that needs to happen. Like, it's no sense of us hiding and dancing around it. They're both in the same weight class. It's just, what are we waiting for? Like, it's pointless at this point.
Turkey shakes money now, aren't we, to make that fight?
Yeah. Well, the one good thing about having him is that he's going to call some people bluffs. So if people want to get paid, this, that, and the third, we saw with Canelo. All Canelo wanted was to be paid handsomely. If y'all want me to fight Crawford, make it make sense. Sense with an S and sense with a C. Make it make sense. And he did. And look where we got now. So hopefully the same thing can look. At the end of the day, we just want to see whose style can impose on who. It's the perfect storm. Like, you rarely get this. Like, let's see it.
Yeah.
Can't do it on Instagram and Twitter and X and Threads. It has to happen inside the ring. That's the only way we're going to get to the bottom of this. So
Definitely.
we'll see.
So another dropout. Joseph Parker was supposed to fight Daniel Dubois. Ended up fighting Martin Bakole. And that was on, what, 2 days' notice?
I couldn't wait to talk to you about this.
30 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
No camp, no sparring. Wishful thinking on everyone's part that Bakole's going to do, make an impact. Turned out, second round, he was the corner stopped the fight. What do you make of that fight?
Yeah, we all got caught up in the name, on the jersey, and not what the player looked like, So once I saw him get in the ring, I was like, oh boy. These stories don't normally end well. I watched Riddick Bowe look like this. I actually caught Larry Holmes. It's funny because the age that I'm at, I caught Larry Holmes live and be able to kind of understand what I'm watching on the tail end of his career. I had to go back and study him, because when he was fighting in his prime, like, we were either not born yet or we were babies. But I remember looking at Larry Holmes like, what the hell is this? From aesthetically, I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say, when Bakole gets in the ring, bro, I'm like, yeah, this is a bad one, man. This is not going to end well. Only because it's funny because they said he was on his couch, literally and figuratively. It looked like this man was this man. And it's not that these are giant human beings. And they're not exactly eating solids and smoothies all day, every day. These are big guys. So they can actually eat stuff. Not that, I'm justified having a bad diet, being an athlete, but still, they're heavyweights. So there's no weight limit. So they don't really have to watch their intake like a welterweight, so to speak. But, it's not to take anything away from Parker because it's a big name on his resume. I did want to see what Bakole looked like because I started thinking, like, damn, are we making too much out of the Jerry Anderson fight? But it is not to take anything away from Bakole because you're like, all right, I want to see what these dudes look like. Because look, FaZe, how many guys we seen, we put a lot of stock into, and then when they start fighting more and more better guys, they stock kind of go out the window. So
yeah.
No, and it's not to take. It's just, and I saw an interview with Bakole saying like he kind of got done dirty with this whole he wasn't too. He said he had a 3-fight deal with Turk Al-Sheikhi. He said he had a 3-fight deal, and I guess this was one of the fights. I don't know how that deal played out, how it works out, but he was just like, if he could do it all over again, maybe he wouldn't have took the fight. And I'm sure he got paid nicely, to be a fill-in. But it was just a disaster. When you saw anybody that knows anything about this sport, or maybe you don't, you just look at it like something just don't look right here. And then I don't know, it was kind of bittersweet.
Yeah, I think it's unfair to judge Bakole's sort of skills on this fight because next time round he'll have a full camp. But he came in, he wasn't mentally or physically prepared. No sparring as well. If you're a heavyweight, no sparring, and then all of a sudden you go into a ring, 10-ounce gloves, 267-pound heavyweight punches you in the face. You haven't been punched for a little while. It takes some time to get used to it, doesn't it? You need the sparring also sort of gets your chin back in check as well, doesn't it? The big 20-ounce gloves probably for the heavyweights. And now you go into a fight not being punched for some time, and your first punch you take is a 10-ounce glove from someone weighing 267 pounds. It's difficult. I think his corner did the right thing stopping the fight because
they did. You don't want to ruin it now to prove a point.
Yeah, because with no camp, getting punched by a heavyweight, one punch could.
He actually landed a few shots. So it was funny though because he do go to show you though that he's a hard hitting guy because. He did put his hands on Parker early.
I was just beginning to enjoy the fight, get into it. And
okay, we can win, mate. Because some of the names I brought up was like Ray Mercer, guys that we grew up watching. He kind of reminds me of a '90s heavyweight. Bakole, I'm saying that is. Yep.
What his style, you mean?
His style. Well, he's one of these hard hitting rugged inside guys. I always say the 90s was the era of all, inside 6-inch punches. And these guys was, heavy hitters. Usually you got guys like Ray Mercer, you throw Burke Cooper in there. He's another guy, Philly guy, by the way. That's what Bakole kind of reminded me of, those type dudes that, we kind of grew up watching in the 90s.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying his win over Jared Anderson, he reminds him of George Foreman. The second coming of George Foreman.
I didn't want to go all the way to the top of the food chain, but
after Saturday's showing, maybe. Yeah.
I didn't want to go that far, but I wanted to bring up more relatable, because again, we talk about these tiers that you got with these fighters, and I just think that he's a player in the heavyweight. I know we're gonna get into what took place also on the card, but you got a lot of new players at heavyweight, and it's on a heater right now, and it's a shame because America. And then real quick, let me just say this about the card. Like, the card really wasn't geared towards the American public. A, the time of day it was on, and B, was predominantly European fighters on the card. And the two guys you had was Shakur and Vergil. They were the only two Americans, right?
Yes, yeah.
Because Carlos Adam, he's from
Dominican.
Yeah, I think
Dominican
he's
Republic,
not.
Yeah.
He's either I don't know if he's Puerto Rican or Dominican. I know
Dominican.
Puerto Rican, then he's from America, but
He's from Dominican Republic.
Okay, so there you go. So you got guys from all over, but you get what I'm saying. Like, mainly the card was driven towards the European fans, and it's a shame because there's a lot of good fighters in heavyweight. A lot of good fighters, and because there's no American heavyweights, nobody's interested. Wilder was the only guy, and you had Jared Anderson as this hopeful. So we'll see.
Yeah. I think
who just fought Jared Anderson? Who just fought on the Keyshawn undercard Keyshawn Davis 2 weeks ago.
But I think next time around, Bakole have a full camp, and hopefully we'll see more of what he's really about. Okay, so on to the main event, Bivol Beterbiev Part 2. Round 13, then it pretty
round
much
13,
wasn't it? It carried on from the last fight, and at a good pace. So what did you make of the result to begin with? What did you score the fight?
The result, I actually scored the fight 1 round for Bivol. I thought he won the fight. I thought the last fight was a draw, but I was okay with Beterbiev getting it. I was always confused and leery about picking a winner, as you know, for this fight, because I think they both do things so well, both of them. And it's hard to dictate things when the other guy can offset what you're doing. Like, it's almost like watching a great cornerback and a great wide receiver go one-on-one. Deion Sanders,
and Jerry Rice,
versus Michael Irvin when he was a Niner, because he was a Cowboy too.
Sanders versus Jerry Rice, same way,
Jerry, like, it's hard to get that separation when you got a lockdown corner against a receiver that knows how to get open. But the decision, I was okay with it because, as you know, when we did our prediction show last week, I said the way this normally works, I thought it would be a draw or Bivol win. That's what I thought. I said it's either a draw or they're going to give Bivol the win. Even if Bivol didn't deserve to win, I just know how makeup calls go in boxing, because this fight has kind of like polarized and galvanized the boxing community and got everybody kind of engaged and involved. You got to do this one more time. Even if they take an interim fight in between, they gotta run it back again. Have to.
Do you see a third fight being any different? I mean, the 20 rounds have been pretty much neck and neck.
See, this is the thing, Faye. I'm glad you asked me that, right? So I went in my memory bank and thought of all the multiple fights that we had in boxing. And one fight that just kept going off in my head was Pacquiao and Marquez, right? I'm a person, I thought Marquez pretty much won all those fights. But I have no issue if people thought Pacquiao won. But with those fights, right? Great as both of those guys were, They both make mistakes, both of them. Marquez, listen, fundamentally sound he was. Sometimes he can get a little careless. He'll take some punches to get punches back. Pacquiao, greatest Pacquiao was, he lunged and leaped. Look, the story was concluded him walking into a punch, pretty much. Perfectly timed right here, right? So I was like, all right, so we had that happen. But again, both of those guys had some flaws that could be exploited eventually. Now, it took, 4 to 5 fights for it to happen. I don't see that happening here. So to answer your question, no, it's never going to be a situation where one guy is going to go for broke. Like, you know what? I'm going to sell out and just walk into a bunch of shots to get what I need. And that would be Beterbiev. For Bivol, I put a post up earlier about this. He's never going to sit there and go toe-to-toe with Beterbiev. It's never going to happen because he's not wired that way, and nor should he ever fight that way to prove a point. So only way something can change if Beterbiev, because he's the older out of the two, if he somehow just gets old and Bivol ends up catching him with some clean shots and stopping, or Bivol just get caught off balance with something and he gets knocked out.
Well, I mean, we did say that in the first fight, Bivol won some exchanges. Should he stand and trade a little bit more to win the fight at the risk of getting clipped by Beterbiev? He says now that he did that in the second fight. He did that on Saturday.
He did.
And he has
he
been
matriculated. What'd you say?
Yeah. So he did that. So he countered more. He punched.
He countered more. But it's still, there's still a shot clock inside of his head on when to get the hell out of there.
Yeah. But do you think now he's done that? He didn't get knocked down. He won the fight. Do you think now if they fight for the third time, Bivol will win even easier now because he's got that belief and confidence that I can take 12 rounds against Beterbiev. I've done it twice, haven't been knocked down. I still didn't trade a little bit more in the second fight, counted more. I still didn't get knocked down. Do you think the third fight becomes easier for Bivol?
I wouldn't use the word easier. I think it might be more convincing. I don't think it's never easy when you fight Beterbiev. I don't think it's no such thing as I know what you're trying to say, like he could take more calculated risks because he took more punches in this fight than he did the other fight. But the problem is the last thing to go in a fighter is his power. So even if he's old, all it takes is one shot to change the trajectory of a fight, right? One shot.
The first thing which goes are the legs. And
the legs do go.
40.
So listen. 40 is 40 at the end of the day, right? And you're right, Bivol might have more confidence. Like, you know what? I might take more risks because he still hasn't really it's weird how this works because he's getting hit. And this is going to sound crazy what I'm about to say, but they're not completely flush shots. Like, he's not getting hit with the type of shots that knock you back into the ropes. Because with guys like Bivol, he's not a one-punch knockout type guy. But once he gets you hurt, it's over. You know, like it's like you fall into like a hornet's nest that you can't get out of. Like once he gets you hurt, you saw guys like Triple G that do this. But even like I always say the difference between Triple G and Beterbiev, I feel like Triple G took more risks to get a knockout, where Beterbiev is a lot more controlled. Like there was rounds where he took his foot off the gate because he's fighting a guy a guy that knows how to counter. So it's like, all right, I'm trying to knock this guy out, but I'm not going to get knocked out in the process with trying to get. That's what for me. That's what makes this so unique. Is that I'm a disciplined guy. You know this. So for two guys it's so hard to be that disciplined like that. How many times we done seen guys make mistakes? It's just not a lot of mistakes being made.
They're so far ahead of everyone else in the division. They're just on a different level, I believe, to everyone else.
In the balance. So there was something that Beterbiev didn't get credit for. His change, like he was throwing change-up jabs. You know, he was throwing jabs to the solar plex, to the torso area, upstairs. Like he was the jab has so much motion on it this go around versus the last go around. And people kind of missed out on that. Like he was doing little subtle things too. The problem, again, great as he was doing at cutting the ring off, Bivol was doing, if not an equally good job, if not an even better job at moving around, like staging left, staging right. There was one particular sequence was my favorite when he kind of spent Beterbiev around in a circle. I was just like, this is some high level stuff we're watching here.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people that aren't like real like boxing heads are really going to appreciate it. So they're more so like looking for, all right, this is the round that's going to happen in, but it never happens. It's in spurts because great fighters fight in spurts.
But
the great elite technicians, I'm talking about technicians. Technicians don't waste punches.
But it's interesting we just mentioned about, people believe that this round's going to happen. There was a point in the fight where it looked like Beterbiev was taking over.
Yeah.
And I think he buzzed Bivol towards the end of the round, but maybe round 6. But then
it was around because it was like halfway through the fight.
Yeah, but then Bivol took over again. So what happened there? Beterbiev looked like he was going to run away with it, and all of a sudden Bivol just turned the tables.
Bivol was a lot more assertive this fight, I thought, than the last fight. Down the stretch. Remember down the stretch, he faded a little bit. He faded, because, but to your point, he dealt with it before, so it's the adjustment is there now. He know where to go. We're not, like everything about, like, again, to use my football analogy, he know where to pivot his feet and make that button hook turn that, this go around. Like, all right, I know if I stop in the dirt here and turn here, like, I can catch him off guard. So having that information, that data downloaded from the last fight, he was able to be more assertive this fight.
Yeah, it felt like there was a momentum shift because Beterbiev was beginning to get on top of him, and all of a sudden it looked like Beterbiev maybe just, I don't want to say took a round off, but he scaled things back, maybe was trying to recover a little bit, and allowed Bivol to sort of shift that momentum, and sort of then after that Bivol sort of took charge, maybe around 7 or 8, I believe. So it was interesting there. Well, what did you make of that? Did you see that sort of momentum shift in the second part of the fight, Bivol being fitter and taking those exchanges a little bit further?
The movement, bro. The movement that Bivol has, because we talked about Bivol being entire down the stretch. Beterbiev had to preserve his energy too. You understand what I'm saying? So it go both ways. So although Beterbiev may not look like he was gassing or tired, but there's a gas tank there that you got to be mindful of. All right, I'm working on a quarter tank of gas. Let me turn off the heat, the air conditioner, preserve gas here to go down the stretch, because Bivol, again, you talked about Madrimov earlier. These styles, the Usyks of the world, it's just not the punches you got to worry about. It's the footwork too. So it's twofold. So it's like, all right, I'm fighting a guy that I got A, worry about what's coming back my direction, and B, I got to make sure I don't get caught in no traps because the footwork is taking me on a journey. So I think the footwork mixed in with, I don't want to say like he did open up, but the opportunities was there for him to open up in the second half of this fight versus the last time. So, and again, it just comes down to both guys. And I keep saying the R word, not running, respect. This is what we thought. Let's be honest, bro. We thought Spence and Crawford was going to look like this. Most of us, give and takes. We thought we was going to get 3 fights out of it. Well, some people, not everybody, but the vast majority thought this was Spence and Crawford was going to look like. And that's what's messing people up. And I said that night, bro. I said this is going to mess people up because everybody going to expect fights to look like this that we've been waiting for.
Yeah, it's interesting.
People can't. I don't put. After this week, I said I'm not putting no more posts up about it. I'm trying to give people some sort of like comfort. Like, listen, appreciate what you got. When James turning for Mike McCollum, we only got. Although the other fight was, it was a good fight, but the first fight we never got that again.
Yeah,
like the first fight was never happening again. So in this instance here, you got 2 fights out of this. It almost was kind of looking like this. I'm like, damn, this is really round 13. It's looking like the same fight almost.
Yeah.
Although Beterbiev was more aggressive early, this fight than he was the first fight.
Yeah, because he sort of carried on from the end of the first fight, and it was like you said, round 13. He intentionally stepped up, to put more pressure on because he was slow in the first fight at the start. Finished fast. Started the second fight faster.
No, people see blood. They see Bivol with the more messed up face. Like one guy, he wrote on my page. See, look, Bivol got broken down, but he didn't get broken down. He just, like to your point, he stayed home a little longer than he did in the last fight, so he got caught in the process. But it was never a situation where it was like a OMG moment, called the cavalry, like put up the white flags. Like it was never that moment. Like even me, because I was like, oh, this might be it. Like, because it was early in the fight where Bivol started like, but he's so tricky with his movement. It looked like he may be hurt, but it's again, this is more of that freakish movement that these, because even Usyk sometimes I'm like, is he hurt? It's the freakish movement that these guys have. It's crazy that we got all these guys at one time. Like I can't think just when it's happened in boxing before. Like you got a lot of guys they don't fight the same way, but there's some similarities there. The way you know. From an offensive perspective, I should say, you know, or defensive. The footwork is defense too.
So, do you think their next fight should be against each other as opposed to potentially Bivol fighting Benavidez, for example?
Well, I love Benavidez. Like, I like that kid. I think he's going to be I think he's next. But everything's about timing. It's not their time yet. Leave those two old men alone. I think he would look like Fernando Vargas in when he fought Trinidad against either one. I know people are like, oh, well, he might have more. No, he can't beat Bivol either. Because people think because Bivol is not this knockout artist. Again, going back to the Shakur thing, like he would systematically break Benavidez down. Beterbiev, that would be and I love Benavidez. I think he got a crazy upside. That would be a massacre to put that kid in the ring with Beterbiev right now. Just wait.
Yeah.
You ever see Rambo?
Yeah.
The first one, First Blood, the classic one.
I mean, those films are so old. I mean, I saw them, but how much can I recall of those? Because I never watched them again, just once. I like the Rocky movies.
So listen, I'm gonna share something funny with you, right? So Rambo, right? This is the first one. So the colonel, you know, he was like a Green Beret of some type of army role, something. So he was going to war with like the neighborhood, like I don't know, like the National Guard, some type of cavalry Rambo was going to war with. So his colonel says to the National Guard, he like, listen, wait a few years, he'll be pumping gas, probably in some town like Seattle, and he'll be a civilian and he'll come in easily and peacefully. That's how I feel about Benavidez with these guys. Wait a couple years, wait till they get closer to being civilians, both of them, then you go fight them. You don't want to deal with that right now.
That's a good analogy, yes.
Callum Smith is a good fight for Benavidez.
Callum Smith, yeah. I mean, I think outside of the main event of Bivol Beterbiev, Callum Smith, Joshua Buatsi was the best fight of the night. What do you make of that?
Hell of a fight. It was a good way to get things started. Nobody's talking about that fight, ironically, but that was one of the better fights on the card. Like nonstop back and forth action. And as I'm watching this fight, I'm like, this is the type of guy Benavidez needs to make him look, you know, the part.
Yeah, do what he has to do or wants to do. They would allow him to do what he wanted to do. I think those guys, it would be a good fight.
Yeah, they just too seasoned for him. And like I said, I like Benavidez. I like his courage, his moxie. But if I was promoting him or managing him, I wouldn't put him nowhere near neither one of those guys. Let them continue to. I can't even say beat on each other because they don't really beat on each other. That's the crazy part about it. Like they're fighting each other, but are these like wars? Like it's like weird. Like maybe mental wars, but.
So I mean, an interesting thing about Callum Smith, Joshua Buatsi, was that two British fighters, but of course Callum Smith was trained by the American Buddy McGirt, and Buatsi trained by an American in Vergil Hunter. I mean,
that's interesting, right? How about that?
yeah.
I'm happy for Vergil Hunter, by the way, who I thought got a raw deal in the boxing. I mean, I don't know, maybe he don't want to coach as much, but I thought he should be coaching a lot more with the career he did with with
Jay
Ward.
Ward.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah,
want to give these guys credit, but you know this firsthand, man. It's a lot that goes in to building these fighters.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But do you think? Do you look much into these coaching rivalries? Some people try to say, you know, it's Buddy McGirt versus Virgil Hunter. Just an example, another trainer versus another trainer. I don't personally. I don't look into it as much because anyone who's fought before will know that inside the ring there are moments where you see something and it's up to you to figure out or pull the trigger,
Yes.
not your coach.
True.
Your coach, yeah, in the round you can go back, he might have seen it, but you know you're the one, you know, right in the middle of the fighting in the fire, aren't you? And sometimes fighters don't even listen to their coaches, do they? The instinct takes over, like you said. People revert to form, referring to the earlier fight with Sheeraz Adames. Fighters revert to habit. Sometimes these guys, they won't listen to a coach and they'll fight out of habit. And yeah, sometimes you see things in the heat of the moment which you got to pull the trigger, not your coach. So I don't look into the coaches sort of rivals as much. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I try not to get into that. Remember they tried to do this with Derek James and Bomac?
Hmm.
But we saw how that went. And I felt like Derek James caught a bum rat. And I think a lot of people was probably upset because he tried to say a lot of things about Bomac, Derek James, and Bomac took the high road. But I think it was more so these guys trying to take the pressure off their fighters. So they make it about, not make it about them, but they like, I'm going to shed a lot of that blame and criticism off my fighter and I'll talk. But I don't think it ever really comes. It just isn't like the other sports where there's a lot of like adjustment. Don't get me wrong, there's adjustments being made, but to your point, sometimes the fighter sees something inside the ring that he got to make adjustments on his own. I think more so with boxing trainers, it's a lot of it's about preparation, getting your guys prepared. Again, bad habits is a hard thing to teach out of fighters, but you can do a good job at teaching them good habits, new habits. I should say new habits. Good new, but teaching bad habits out of fighters, that's a hard thing to do. Unless you had them from the beginning.
From the start, yeah.
Like Robert Garcia, right? He's building a hell of a resume for himself. Like when you really sit back and analyze what he's doing, like that I don't think enough people put enough stock into Rayo Venezuela versus Isaac Pitbull Cruz. That was one of the most beautiful game plans that I've seen in quite where a fighter and trainer will step into on the same page, toe and step on the same page, and carry it out through the entire fight. They never deviated once when it was tempting at times. So Robert, it's like funny because he's always been here. It's not like he's new. Like he's coached so many of these, especially like young Mexican American kids in Oxnard, you know, a lot of those guys there. He has his own boxing academy and all that. And I just look at like, damn, he has Rayo Valenzuela, Bam Rodriguez, and Vergil Ortiz. Wow. These are three of the, like, it's crazy. Like, all three of them, well, Bam, he's on another level. Not to take anything away from Robert, Bam was already a finished product that he's just fine combing from here on out. But like Bam is just something different. I don't know where he came from because I watch videos of him. Usually I post that kid a lot. I'm just obsessed with the way he fights. But I've seen this from when he was little up until now. So he's kind of always been this way. Where the other guys, they're like, I can see the maturation that's like kind of being done under Robert Garcia's tutelage, you know. So it's just crazy.
Yeah, it seems like for a lot of coaches, it sort of ebbs and flows. You know, one moment they're top of the world, another moment people are criticizing them. Like Derek James, for example, at one point he had an amazing stable. All of a sudden, took a few losses, and all the criticism comes out. As a coach, you've got to be very mentally strong as well, you know, to
But look,
sort of
this is the thing people don't realize though. He had a gauntlet of a year. He had to fight Crawford, Canelo, and Gervonta Davis all in 1 year. There's no way you're going through. At worst, you're going to go 2-1. At best, 2-1, 2-1. but he went 0-3.
Yeah.
I meant to say even 1-2 would be good. I didn't mean to say 2-1. I meant to say 1-2. He went 0-3 though. I mean, look what he had to go against.
Yeah, it's a tough one for the coaches.
Yeah,
because they're the first ones who take the blame, aren't they? But you know, these guys are clearly elite coaches, aren't they? But always getting the blame when their fighters are lose, unfortunately, and
none when they win. No credit.
Yeah, exactly. So, what about the fight we haven't covered? You know, we talked about the heavyweight division. So many names in the heavyweight division. Ajay Kabayel, do you think he's sort of the new bogeyman now in the heavyweight division after his defeat of Zila Zhang? When I saw that fight, it always reminds me of what the Breadman said about super heavyweights that don't have the gas tank to throw a lot of punches or keep up with high volume punches. Exactly what happened. Kabayel came out, attacked the body head, forced Zhang to fight at a faster pace, at the same time taking gas from him by punching him to the body. And Zhang was huffing and puffing by the second or third round. What did you make of that fight?
Zhang looked like we talk about age. Now he is 40. I know we talked about Parker last week, right? This I know for a fact. He's 40 years old, right? Boxing is still a young man's game. You know, he looked like a 40-year-old fighter on Saturday. And it's not to take anything away. It's just all these guys have expiration dates. You know, like you said, he was huffing and puffing. He just looked like a guy that's the end is near. You know, this looked more like a fight or two from retirement. Because a heavyweight isn't a division you can play around and just hang around it because of the knockout aspect of it. You know, but we got another player at heavyweight though. You know, so.
And it's another smaller heavyweight, isn't it? Cabell
smaller, yeah, right.
255 around that, which in today's...
Funny that we think smaller because these guys are so big. Back in the 90s, he would have been kind of normal, but now...
Yeah, because these guys are so big now, the super heavyweights like Zhang.
They're huge. Like, it's crazy how big these guys
Bakole,
are.
yeah.
But I'm looking at Anthony Joshua. I'm like, you forget how big he is. Like, he was standing next to... who was he standing? I think he might have been standing next to Bakole. And he was towering over him. I'm just like, you forget how tall, like big some of these dudes are.
Yes, interesting one. But you know, you say don't stick around, but like I said, power's the last thing which goes. Do you think some of these heavyweights could probably last a little bit longer? And it was just the rate he was forced to fight at, which sort of beat him.
I mean, it got to be the right situation. Like somebody call and ask Zhang to fight Anthony Joshua. All right. You know he's going to be like, okay, where do I sign up? Because look, Anthony Joshua's still a big ticket in boxing. Like that he's still a huge draw. Like, because I actually want to ask you a question about heavyweight, you know, especially from you being on that side of the pond. Fury and Joshua, to me, that's the biggest, not only one of the biggest fights in boxing, but you know from where you're at, bro, what that does over there. Those two guys.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it last time, did it? With me, you, and Coach Mustafa about how the British heavyweights, the UK heavyweights are much better than Americans now.
Oh my! The tables have turned. The days of the Frank Brunos are no longer.
all those potential heavyweight champions from America are playing on the equal defensive, aren't they?
You know, it's funny, right? Growing up as a kid, right? Anytime you saw like a British fighter, like a heavyweight, they would think we just called him Frank Bruno because that's all we do. Like it was a guy that Tyson knocked out. You know, you didn't have access to information like you do now.
Even I still hear the guys in America saying that AJ is another Frank Bruno.
Yeah, right. I'm saying. That was the ultimate insult whenever a British dude. Because I remember when I first saw Anthony, I was like, this guy's nothing but another Frank. No, AJ definitely had a better career. But I just think that fight is massive. It's still a huge fight. Huge fight. I'm shocked that it's not being discussed right now. I don't know. Maybe Fury is in a place.
I think there were some talks after the Beterbiev Bivol second fight that they were trying to possibly get a Joshua Fury fight. Maybe Joshua asked for it actually in an interview.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so possibly we might get that one. If Fury, I don't, is he still retired? I don't know. I'm sure enough money will drag him out of retirement, and they give him 6 months to get ready. So
Yeah. I mean, that's one of them fights. You just give both guys a blank check and tell them to put their numbers down, and we'll go from there. Like,
if only Turkey Alashake was here 7-8 years back with Wilder and Joshua when they were running at their peaks.
oh
Weren't
man.
they? Can you
Well,
imagine that?
but look, they were supposed had Wilder beat Zayn, the fight would have happened. It was supposed to happen in the spring, right? It was supposed to happen in March.
Mm.
Was it last March? I can't remember when it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, I don't remember when they fought. It feels like some time ago now, even though it wasn't, was it? Yeah. So let's hope we get some big fights in the heavyweight division as well soon. Because as good as Usyk is, I think with the heavyweight, people just want to see knockouts, don't they?
Nobody wants to see anybody get outboxed in the heavyweight division. Like I said, as much as I enjoy it, but it's funny because Usyk did exactly what you and I like, but it's like weird with him but he's exciting though. Even though he's not getting a knockout, it still looks fun. It's creative. It's very abstract. So I guess people are drawn to that. But like he didn't knock Fury out in 2 fights. He did knock him down in the first fight, but yeah. So now he's talking about fighting Parker.
How do you think that would go? I mean, I'm always picking Usyk, whoever he fights now in the heavyweight division.
You know me. I'm not picking nobody over Usyk until I see it. There's no disrespect to Parker, but I just don't think his style. I know the style that needs to be Usyk. I just don't see it yet.
The Joe Frazier style, the Philly style, the Philly style, isn't it?
Listen, crazy as it sounds, like a guy like you're gonna need to be like a Bakole type of guy to do it. Like it's gonna have to be a guy that got power in both hands, a guy that can fight on the inside. Yep, that's what's gonna have to. That's the only shot you got, and that's. I'm not saying that's gonna work. Just so we clear, I'm just saying that to decisively deal with that, you're never gonna win a decision against him. Because he's the matriculation of all the stuff that he does, he's gonna outpoint you. So you're not outboxing him. So that's the only way I see it happening.
Yeah, because again, it's going to be those super heavyweights that are going to try getting a shot at him, and they won't be able to keep up with him.
They can't keep up. Yeah,
is anyone his sort of size that can sort of keep up with him and attack the body as well?
He's too good for his own good right now. He's like in a Crawford situation Crawford was in. He's too good for his own good. There's really no good matchups for him right now.
Yeah.
But I still want to see it. Parker got some movement. We'll see. But I just don't think he can outbox him. So
good stuff.